Well, good day, folks. This video is going to talk about how to find two angles in standard position. And if you're not sure what standard position is, there's a video just before this one that talks about what standard position is. Okay? So two angles in standard position that give the exact same trig ratio. So in other words, the answer on your calculator would be the same. We can use, here it is, we can use our calculators to see that sine 30 equals 0.5. Let's do that right now. So just take a calculator, make sure it's in degree mode or this won't work, and type in sine 30, and you should get 0.5 as an answer. Well, believe it or not, there's some angle between 0 and 360 degrees. There's another angle that we could find that if we were to punch it in on our calculator, it would give us 0.5 as the answer. Okay? And that's what this video is about, is trying to find that other angle. Well, here's how you do it, and it's pretty quick. I'm going to do two examples, and hopefully you'll have it. Okay? In the last video, we talked about what the cast rule is. The cast rule is that rule that talks about what is positive, sine, cosine, or tangent. Sine, cosine, or tangent, sine, cosine, or tangent, or A standing for all. That means all angles are positive in this quadrant. Okay, here's quadrant 1, here's quadrant 2, here's quadrant 3, here's quadrant 4. Okay, now we talked about angles rotating around in a counterclockwise way. And here in this question it says the sine of 30 degrees, the sine is equal to 0.5. Okay, now there's a little bit of terminology we need to remember. The angle between the x-axis and the terminal arm is called the related acute angle. Okay, so this angle here is called the related acute angle. Now, these words that I'm using, I'm kind of speaking quickly because this video actually piggybacks on to the video before this that talks about angles in standard position between 0 and 360 degrees. Between 0 and 360 degrees, okay? So that's why I'm kind of moving quickly here, talking about this. Okay? So here's what you do. There we go. I'm going to get rid of that stuff. You say to yourself, sine 30 gave us 0.5. Is 0.5 positive or negative? That's right. It's That's right. It's positive. I can't believe I almost said negative. That's really bad. So it's positive. So if sine is positive in here, so 30 degrees was in here, and the sine ratio was positive there, where else in these three quadrants is sine positive? Well, use the cast rule, C-A-S-T. Sine is positive in the second quadrant. So what you do is you take that 30 degrees that we were originally talking about, and you draw it right here. Okay, you draw the 30 degrees. Remember, that's the related acute angle. It's the angle between the x-axis and this terminal arm right here. And what you do, we already know that sine 30 is equal to 0.5. So the question becomes, what is this angle? I'm going to put it in green. What is this angle from here to here? By the way, if you remember from the last video, if you start from here and you move to here on this angle, this is called the principal angle, and the angle in here is called the related acute angle. So what would this angle be right here? Well, we know that it goes 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and 270. So this angle right here would be 180 degrees minus 30 degrees. That means from here to here, and hopefully you also realize this, it's 150 degrees to go from here to here. That is the principal angle. To get into the second quadrant, to have a related acute angle of 30 degrees, kind of like this one. Okay, so let's check it out on the calculator to see if this is really true. Is the sine of 150 degrees going to be 0.5? Indeed it is. Okay, so in this question, what other angle would that be? You would just say sine 150 degrees also equals 0.5. Okay? And you can do this for any angle they give you. If sine 30 happened to be negative, which we know it isn't, but if it happened to be negative, you would have to look for a place where sine is also negative. Okay? Let's look at another question, just to make that a little bit more clearer. Okay, this question says, find an angle between 0 and 360 degrees that would give you the same result as cosine 240. So cos 240 equals what? Well, take your calculator, type in 240 cos, and you get negative 0.5. Is that on purpose? Yes, it is. I wanted to show you how to deal with a situation when you get a negative, okay? So you go like this, and you know the cast rule, okay? C-A-S-T. Cosine of 240. Let's sketch that in right now. I'll use a red marker for that. Well, here's 0 degrees, 90, 180. Here's 270. So where would 240 go? Well, it would go somewhere, and we're not being too picky, but it would be somewhere in here. Okay? So the angle from here all the way to there, oops, that's supposed to be an arrow, is 240 degrees. That's our principal angle. Now, to do a question like this, the principal angle's fine, but what we need to know is what is the related acute angle right here? Okay, I'm going to write that in, I don't know, blue. What's the related acute angle going to be? How would we figure that out? Well, you could go 240 degrees and then subtract the 180 degrees right here. This is 180. And the extra amount would be what we're looking for. Okay? So 180 to 240, if you did that in your head, you should get 60 degrees. Okay? So 240 minus 180 is 60 degrees. I hope I'm right about that. I just did that quickly in my head. My mental math is terrible, and I'm a math teacher. I know it's embarrassing. Don't tell anyone. So 60 degrees is there. Now what you do is you ask yourself, where else on this, in these quadrants, is cosine also negative? Well, here cosine is positive, and up here where the A is, everything is positive. So there's only one quadrant where cosine can also be negative, and that is right here in this quadrant number 2. Okay, we see the sign there. Only sine is positive here. So what we do is, well, it's a little bit hard to read all of this, so I'm going to, I'm going to try and take away some of the stuff I've written down. I'll stop right there. We knew this was 60 degrees here, right? Well, do the same thing in this quadrant. Okay? Put the 60 degrees there, right in the same related acute angle, and then all you have to do is ask yourself, what would it be if the principal angle were from here to here? Well, here is 90 degrees. How much more do I need to go before I hit this terminal arm right here? What would this be? Well, there's different ways to do it. Probably the easiest way is to say, well, all the way down here is 180. 180 minus 60 is 120. You could have thought of it this way too. 90 plus what would leave you with 60 right here. But I don't know. I think 180 minus 60 is easier. So 120. Let's see if this is true. Let's see if the cosine of 120 degrees will also give us the exact same answer that we got here, negative 0.5. Let's check it out on the calculator. 120 cos. And you keep your fingers crossed at this point because we want to get it right. And we did. Okay? So hopefully following these steps will help you. It definitely makes sense to practice this, but I'm trying to keep this video short, so I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to repeat to tell you a conclusion about what to do because you can just push rewind or just go back to the beginning. I still use the word rewind. It sounds like I'm talking about a tape recorder, which is the era that I grew up in. Okay, well anyway, have a great day, folks.